Hey guys, Blade Angel here, and as a new Corvette owner, here are some things that pleasantly surprised me about it. Having said that, if you're someone looking to buy a Corvette, especially a new one, this video may or may not sway you one way or the other in your decision. Now, the first thing that really surprised me is the Corvette's gas mileage, and I don't mean that in a bad way, I mean that in a fantastic way. The Corvette Z06, with its active fuel management and 8-speed automatic, can get up to 28 to 30 highway. I've even hypermouthed it down the Georgia mountains and got 44. Now, that's obviously cheating because when you're rolling down a mountain, your car, more or less, gravity's doing the work, so your car does a lot less work. But realistically, you can get 28 to 30 thanks to active fuel management. In a city, I will get anywhere from 17 to 22. Part of the reason that I didn't buy a ZR1 is because they don't have access to active fuel management. Neither do the 7-speed manual Corvettes, whether it's a Z06 or Stingray or whatever. Having said that, I know a lot of car enthusiasts could care less about gas mileage. But let's be real, it saves money, and especially for someone like me who it's now my new daily driver, that's incredible. That's something I appreciate to no end. And when it comes to non-car people especially, this is also very surprising because they always throw out the tired lines of, oh, you don't need that much horsepower, you don't need to have nearly 700 horsepower to putt around the city, you're never gonna actually use that. And while I do think that's debatable, trust me, car guys, we do find a way to use our car's maximum potential, even on public roads when we shouldn't. Having said that though, I understand the sentiment. You're right. I'm not going to use all 650 of my horsepower all the time, every time. Which is why I think it's amazing that the car itself, that the engineers themselves thought of that and was like, you know what, why not just make the car shut off half its engine when it's not, you know, going zoom zoom and you're just putting around town. And I don't want to go around and buy another car. I'm the type of guy where I just want to only own one car, mostly because I can only fit one car in my garage. So having said that, it's amazing that my Corvette can be used for everything. And let's be real, I think when it comes to impressing non-car people, it's more of a flex to tell them, hey, my 650 horsepower supercar gets the same gas mileage as your freaking SUV. Now, another thing that really impressed me about the Corvette is this one is more of a subjective thing. I'm sure experiences may differ, but the general experience might still be somewhat the same, and that is that it gets a lot more attention than I thought, and it may just be the color that I bought it in. But back when I owned my Mustang GT, I thought I was the coolest kid on the planet. But I'm gonna be real with you, other than living in Indiana where Hoosiers are just really nice in general. So if you're from Indiana, shout out to you guys, because Hoosiers are just really nice. They'll compliment your car no matter what car it is, just because they want to start a conversation with you, not because they're a car person. And I got compliments on my Mustang GT all the time in Indiana because people were just nice. But since moving to Atlanta, or when I visit my brother when he did live in Texas and now in Arizona, no one really cares. No one cares whatsoever. But now that I have the Corvette, everyone gives it a compliment, no matter where I am, even when I'm like road tripping or stopping between Kentucky and Tennessee, because I still drive back and forth between Indiana and Georgia all the time. And even here in Atlanta, people love it. They really do compliment it. They want to ask for pictures, and they don't like have any malice or contempt against you. I know Jay Leno kind of mentioned it in his video review of the Corvette Z06, and it's not this super unattainable car, and you do see Corvettes all over the place, but they're still generally observed as nice cars, but not stupidly unobtainable nice. And because of that, people don't, like I said, they don't look at you with a level of contempt. Now, when it comes to people at car meets and car shows, I've seen Lambos, I've seen Ferraris, I've seen all kinds of supercars like McLarens and whatnot, and I think they're gorgeous, I think they're beautiful. But a lot of non-car people, admittedly, they don't like them, and they will throw out really bad phrases. They'll say, oh, if you own a Lamborghini, you're overcompensating, or you have a small penis, and everyone, you know, we've heard that over and over and over again. Non-car people love throwing out that compensation joke. And it's really sad, you know, why can't someone just buy a Lamborghini because they want to enjoy it? But no matter what, people are like, oh, you know, he's just looking for attention, he has a small dick, and blah, blah, blah. And that, unfortunately, is like the type of attention you end up getting by owning one of those cars. But having a Corvette, you don't get that contempt. People don't look at you like an overly rich douchebag. And it does dissuade me from wanting an actual supercar, but if you are a Lambo owner out there, or any supercar owner, just know that don't let people get to you. It's disgusting to me that people try to put you down for doing hard work and getting the car that you want. If that will bother you, if you are worried about owning of high, quote-unquote, high status and supercar performance, and you don't want to deal with, you know, people looking at you with contempt, a Corvette's a pretty good option. Another thing that surprised me about the Corvette is how smoothly it rides. GM definitely knew their audience. They know that a lot of older folk buy this car, and a lot of older folk get back pain and a whole bunch of other types of pains just because they're old. There's nothing wrong with that, and as someone who's young, I can still appreciate it. It's fantastic. I've gone on road trips so much already in this, and I've only owned it for 2 weeks, but I've driven it back and forth it doesn't hurt whatsoever. Like, there's no back pain, the road isn't too harsh, the ride isn't harsh at all, and of course having magnetic ride definitely helps that. The car can adjust itself depending on what mode you're in. Like on touring mode, it just glides. Having said that, it is still very low to the ground, so obviously when it comes to speed bumps, you gotta slow down. When it comes to potholes, you gotta weave and dodge, and you always gotta look out for potholes. So that reality still exists, whereas like in a Honda Accord, you can still just mow over them and be forgiven for it. Not in a Corvette, so you still have to, aside from that, the ride is extremely smooth, just smoother than my Mustang GT by a long shot, which really impressed me, and really impressed, like I said, a lot of my friends and my family, because they've ridden in my Mustang GT before, and that's a much higher up car, and most people do, like, especially the newer Mustang GTs with independent rear suspension, you know, they already thought that was pretty nice for a quote-unquote sports car, muscle car, whatever you want to call it, and I agree, it was livable for sure. I dailied that car, but going to this Vette, I can't believe how ridiculously smooth the ride is, so that's awesome. Another thing in regards to daily ability is really the fact that it's so practical. So obviously you've seen me open the trunk on this car. It stores a lot of things. It's a very big trunk, much bigger than my Mustang. Pretty much comparable to that of a typical sedan. And I believe it's about almost 16 cubic feet in size, which is very good. And the trunk opening is also fantastic because it doesn't matter how big your trunk is if the opening sucks. That was the main problem that my brother suffered with his Camaro SS. But the trunk opening on the whole Corvette is really like a hatchback opening. You just lift your rear window up and it's amazing. And also from another practicality standpoint, it still has a glove box, a center console storage, and has storage behind the screen, which I think is the coolest thing ever. Comparing it to cars near its price range that are also two-door, low-slung coupes, they usually sacrifice things like glove boxes or center console storage and whatnot. So it's nice to still have essentially a normal car from a storage standpoint, which is, again, fantastic. From a reliability standpoint, the LS and LT engines, the LT more specifically because that's the one in my Corvette, but from the LS onwards, from the C5, C6 Corvettes, now onto the C7 with the LT engines, they're fantastic engine. Pushrod engine, very simple design, incredibly easy to work on, and incredibly easy to get parts for. So even if it does break, parts are extremely cheap and they arrive within 2 days. You can get them anywhere. And to me, that really makes me want to daily my car more and more. I remember Jalopnik has like a whole article where it's like, man, people who don't drive their Corvettes that much are just freaking insane, because I think so too. I think trying to keep a modern Corvette as a collector's item is kind of weird. Like I know with the older C2s and C3s, like they appreciate, but with like a modern Corvette, there's almost no excuse not to want to drive them as much as possible, or whenever you get the chance, because again, you might have like another car as your daily. It loses value whether you put miles on it or not. So to me, sometimes happiness and memories are priceless, and this car, because of how reliable it is and how cheap it is to maintain, and oil changes are also cheap for it. Yearly maintenance in general is cheap because at the end of the day, it uses a lot of GM components because it's a GM car. So it's not like a super expensive, out of reach car to maintain, kind of like a Porsche as well. So I will kind of throw that in there because Porsches are also pretty decently cheap to maintain for how much performance they have too. And I like that. To me, I want to own a car that has near supercar performance, but not supercar headaches. I can drive my Corvette literally as my daily, get good gas mileage, get soft rides, but more importantly, not worry about my engine breaking down or not being able to get parts for it or bleeding my wallet dry because of how expensive it is to repair it. None of that, and that is an extreme peace of mind to me. And finally, onto the final point, is that it's also not even that loud. So thanks to the new active exhaust system, the Corvette can also change its exhaust based on whatever setting it's in. And even when you do mod it aftermarket, I know Street Speed one time did a video a long time ago demonstrating that even with his aftermarket setup, as long as you still have the stock butterfly valves and all that wiring intact, it still works, which I think is funny. So you can go from a loud screaming track car to a quiet, smooth touring car. And especially when you're starting your car up at like 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. in the morning and you don't want to wake your neighbors up, I put on stealth mode, start it up, because I don't want to be a dick. I know a lot of car guys, again, they think it's funny to wake the whole neighborhood up. I kind of want to be like quote unquote more of a mature enthusiast, or kind of win non-car people over, kind of make them see that car enthusiasts and really fast cars in general can have a whole different side to them. And that's really the takeaway of this video. This Corvette can be a 650 horsepower Supercar Slayer when it wants to be, but in that same vein, get great gas mileage, store all of your things for a long road trip, be very quiet and be very smooth during that whole road trip, and finally not be seen with contempt That's awesome. I never met a non-car person so far who's thought active fuel management is a dumb thing, and I know that it had a little bit hiccups when it first came out, but as of now it's pretty well sorted. Haven't seen many problems on it. My brother loved it when he had it in his Camaro, which he no longer has, unfortunately, just because he didn't want a Camaro anymore, but that's his decision. But I was always jealous of it. I was always jealous of his AFM when I was in my Mustang GT, because I think his Camaro gets like 33, 34 mpg on highway, because his doesn't have a supercharger, so my Z06 is like down to 28 to 30. That's still amazing highway mpg, and that's really all I've got to say for this video, is that I love this car and I want to drive it as much as possible. I don't care about storing it away, letting it collect dust. There's almost no reason to, unless, like I said, you own another daily. But even if you don't, you could literally daily this car. You really could. It is an amazing, well-rounded performance car. And with that said, I'd like to close this video. Other than that, thank you guys for watching, and I hope this helped with some prospective Corvette buyers, especially looking at the C7 generation. Other than that, I'd like to mention that I will be at Import Alliance this weekend, so if you want to meet me, I'll be there. See you then. Blade Angel out.